Hello, everybody, or nobody, because this is a surprise live, so people are joining in slowly. Oh, we already have 3 people. Wonderful. Welcome everybody to Simulation Talk 350. Nice and round number. Let's see what we got. Start the stage on Discord. And now the stage is officially open. Give me 1 second. Oh, there's a lot there. 1 second. Welcome everybody. Slowly will be showing up on TikTok, I'm assuming. Whoa. What up, Guru? Yeah, today I showed up out of nowhere. The Mindset Expo, what up? How you doing on TikTok? Nick Sal, how are you, brother? Ooh, with strong evening coffee. Much needed. How are everybody doing tonight? Hope very well. Good to see everybody. Thank you so much for showing up on such a short notice. It is a surprise live and pretty early at that. Usually we do the lives a lot later. My good friend Jules is in the house. As far as I'm concerned, the best singer in the US, maybe in the world. Gali J on TikTok. Follow him there. Okay. I'm going to mention it now and again later. I forgot yesterday. If you want to follow Twitch, it's LaserX83 on Twitch. Come join us there. Terry's in the house. How are you, brother? Violet Man is in the house as well. Good to see you guys. Casey's here. How are you, my brother?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking.
He showed up at 2:22.
Oh, I know. Well, for me, it's 5:24. Today, I had a very limited time. I knew it, so I had to kind of do the best of the day that I could. So we're jumping on right now. Danny back at it again. Yeah. How's your day? How's your day going so far? I guess because for you, it's still midday.
Yeah, it's going just fine.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everybody joining slowly on YouTube and X and Twitch, if you and TikTok, of course. Thank you so much for the likes. I appreciate it. No matter where you watching from, all likes, shares, and subscribes help tremendously. So thank you so much. And yeah, don't forget to still smash that like button. If you want to follow from Twitch, it's LaserX83 on Twitch. Okay, so just reminding everybody that we're focusing. What up, Michael? Science coherence. How are you? Good early stream indeed. How is Natasha doing, Terry? How are her babies? From Oz, how are you? Saturn Rooster, good to see you. Okay, so yesterday was a great live, really good vibes. Actually, forgot to mention the retreat yesterday. Olga GR, how are you? I'll mention it at the end. If you guys are interested in, still interested in the retreat, it's going to be on February 28th. Make sure you email me to dengoprox@gmail.com to find out more if you think you're interested. Amandu. Dengoprox with an X. DANGOPROX@gmail.com. This email is reserved usually for business affairs, but the retreat, I guess, is considered business affairs. So you can email me there for a faster communication on that. But I'm going to mention it again later. Right now, I'm going to remind everybody we're trying to focus on human experience-based conversation. So even if you have a question about the laser, you can make it as wild as you want. It can be UFOs, it can be the laser, science, philosophy. It can be something about whatever that we've never heard about before. But if you do have a question about whatever it is, make sure you frame it in terms of your own personal experience. So why do you care? What is it about that thing that makes you particularly in person interested? Also, what is it like to be you? How's your human experience? Is it good? Is it bad? Why? What can we talk about that has substance in that regard? Terry's saying she's being held from seeing them. It all seems like a trick to get her home, although the baby is having silent seizures and she is in the process of seeing an attorney at the moment. Wait, so, her babies are not with, like, she shares custody? Sounds like a lot of drama over there. Dmitry Landok. Welcome everybody on TikTok. Kubski. Simone. Good to see everybody. Oscar. Violet Men is saying, what's your distinction on other beings and projections from our own mind when in Dmitry land? Very difficult question. Very good question. The truth is, one second. And behind this question is really hiding the biggest question of them all, which is, what is consciousness? Because what is it actually would determine how we approach the question you ask. How do you discern whether the things are quote unquote mind made, or are they autonomous beings that they have their own reality? Well, if the mind is fundamental and it's something that exists and is the most fundamental thing, then everything that is within it, which is everything and made out of it, so to speak, has their own agency to some degree. If not, then the answer differs, and we have to kind of differentiate between these things. Hold on. Violent Man wants to come on and chat. I actually prefer. How are you, brother? Would you jump on Discord to do this, because the audio is a lot better for everybody?
Oh, sure. I'm not even privy to the Discord. But
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
Discord is a lot easier. It's actually. Let me put it here. Hold on. Let me do it in real time for you, because people can barely hear you when you're on TikTok. Hold on. And it's just not your fault, but it's there you go, and everybody can also hear my daughter scream. So let's do this. Invite. Go ahead, brother.
About a year or two ago, year and a half ago, maybe 2 years.
Well, before you go on, hold on. I'm just gonna put the thing in the chat. So usually you can find it in the link tree in the description. Violet Men on TikTok, but you can also go on YouTube right now. I'll drop the link there, and I'll drop the link here. The only thing is, on TikTok, there's no possibility for it to be a hyperlink, so you're gonna have to kind of take a snapshot of your screen, copy it from your picture, and then go to Discord and find it. Or you can, just go to YouTube and grab it, or you can also just search for Code of Reality or Core on Discord. But I just dropped it on YouTube as well. Let me put it here as well, of course. That way we can hear you really well. And okay, so comments. There you go. That's our Discord group. By the way, I highly recommend everybody joins. Wonderful people. To Retro Max is in the house. Baby needs radical attention. She left 3 weeks early to make that happen. Sounds like very complicated, man. Well, I hope everything's going to be okay. Chris is in the house. How are you, brother? Yeah, Terry, that sounds like a very complicated situation. Hopefully it's going to resolve itself. Brett's Ambliss saying, I've never encountered these beings, just colors and lights. I've seen layers of reality that look like blueprints of dimensions, still hoping to meet nice machine elf. Yeah, so it's interesting because I think it took me quite a while before I started encountering beings. And hold on, let me see. Casey, also I cut you off. Keep going.
Okay, so about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I partook in a pilot survey. It's called the Super Experiencer Survey.
Mhm.
It's being put on by the California Institute of Integral Sciences.
Okay.
And so it is a survey that where it's a research effort to better understand. Better understand individuals who have had multiple types of anomalous or noetic experiences, such as expanded self, mystical, near-death, noetic dreams, non-human intelligences, out-of-body experiences, paranormal, permeable self, psychic, UFOs. So you, if you've had multiple, you fill out the survey, and if you've had a number of those things occurred, then they reach out to you and have you take the 2 to 4 hour survey, which has just been released. Now, I think it's still open to anybody, and it is very cool because the research data that comes out of it is well done, and a lot of people come on and they ask questions about UFOs and all these different subjects, and they share a lot of times on here that they've had different experiences, and this is kind of an opportunity to go back and remember them, write them out, and then see how they have integrated throughout their life, and be heard. Basically, it's pretty cool.
So, is this something that is still available to the public?
I believe so, and if they want to check it out, they can go to superexperiencer.org.
Okay. I don't know why. By the way, Sorif, is that you, Violet Man? Is that you on? Because you raised your hand, Sorif, and then I see you jumped off. Yeah. So why did you jump off? Come back on. You wanted to chat? Go ahead, brother.
I was trying to jump from my phone, or excuse me, like my computer back to my
Oh,
phone.
got it.
Sorf is great though. That's my D&D character. I didn't realize that's my Discord is set up.
Awesome. Well, how are you, brother? First of all.
I'm doing great.
Also, welcome,
I love
Nico.
How often you go live and facilitate these chats, and I think it's so critical for people to talk about this kind of stuff.
It was born out of the attempt to do it every single day for a year, and it started that way. And then I had a few things that just simply made it just unnecessary. So I did that for a long time, and then I realized that when I show up when I'm too tired or too whatever, it's just not the same. Like I'm not my best. I'm very abrupt. I'm very short with people. Like it's just not the same. So I realized that I'm just like, really, who am I doing it for? Like what, to prove to myself that I can show up every day? Yeah, I can show up every day, but then I might be cranky. I might be this. So I was like, let's just do it when it feels really right. But we definitely try to do them as often as possible.
Without compromising the quality.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the way that you think, and as someone who's explored a lot of quote unquote aspects of consciousness, you've explored a bunch of others that I haven't. So it's always cool, like connecting dots, from different angles. And I think I heard you mention Robert Monroe recently in an interview or something. I'm curious, have you explored a lot of that? I think you were saying you went to the Institute.
No, I did the Gateway recordings, the tapes.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that? Yeah, that's as far as I went. I did everything that I found that was available. Very interesting. Definitely opened some channels for sure. There's no question about that. And in fact, the CFO for the Monroe Institute, Paul Hynek, he also is the CFO for Code of Reality for our organization. Yeah. So you just want to come and hang, which is totally cool, or did you have like a particular topic you wanted to raise?
Well, I kind of started with that first one around the projections versus other beings, and I know it's also kind of a hard to answer kind of question too. But I think I have an answer. I think without a doubt they are their own thing, without a question whatsoever. Now, some people contend with that, but if I have to be fair, then I would have to admit that it would largely depend on what do we mean by mind-made. If everything is mind-made, then all of them are agents, for sure, right? Right.
If there's different kinds of mind-made, so to speak, maybe there's mind-made that has agency and mind-made that has no agency. Maybe it's just kind of like a pure floating consciousness that did not coalesce into something that we can call an agent. and maybe it doesn't have the kind of thing that we're familiar with. So it doesn't have qualia, it doesn't have that kind of stuff, but it is still mind. So it's a very difficult subject matter because of that. But if you ask me for my opinion, I hold the opinion that, there you go, that it's 100% they are completely autonomous, which, by the way, would also puts into question basically every single modern spiritual claim put on the table. Like, for example, they care about my healing, they wait for me to come. It's like, who do you think you are? Like, if they have their own life, why would theirs be surrounded around you? It's like, they just
overflow. If they're operating from a totally different frame of time or resource, then maybe you do have, if you can explore infinitely anywhere at the speed of thought, then maybe you do want to go tinker around in other creatures' existences.
You mean
Or is
from
that just how human would think about it?
I think it's just how a human would think about it, but also, like, so you're saying from their perspective?
Yeah.
I think that if we really want to ask that question, we would have to contend with some things that are a little closer to home and then extrapolate from there. And also, by the way, Never Don't saying, do you have any thoughts on or insights on Gnosticism? I am just learning about it. Yeah, I do. But let's table this for a second because we can cover this one. And if anybody wants to come on Discord, please come join the Discord, and you can always jump on so everybody can hear your voice. I think that what I like to do when I'm thinking about things that we really have no access to, like other points of consciousness, I like to start with cases which we think we have, and then we kind of move slowly down the line, right? So
Right.
we imagine that other humans have similar consciousness to ours. Yes, there's the whole, philosophical problem of like, I don't really have a way to ever really know if you're conscious or not, right? Sure. But that's not how we do things. Like, we do things in terms of what's plausible, and we act from there. So plausibly, I would say, because we are the same kind of thing, yes, I would imagine that everybody in the world have at least a certain ballpark of a similar kind of internal actuation they call internal world, right? And they did do some studies that teased out some differences that were key differences that actually I would myself not guess. So, for example, they found that if you ask people, where are you? Like, when I ask you that feeling that you're you, right? We don't really question it because it just kind of, what do you mean? Like, obviously that's what being me is, right? But there's actually components to it that apparently are different across cultures. So what they found, for example, is that if I ask you, where are you? Most Western people, I would definitely answer that, would say behind my eyes or between my ears. Like, I'm in my head somewhere. I'm here. The locus of my attention is somewhere here, right? What they found, which was super interesting, is that most people in Asian countries, I forget which ones, but there were specific ones, where if you ask them the same question, they answer here in the chest. For them, it's actually, they feel behind the chest. And I'm like, when I found that out, I was like, really? That's so crazy. Like, I would like, and that's really interesting. And there might be some cultural influences to this, probably, how people are brought about. Maybe it has something to do with hyper awareness of others, even. I don't know. Maybe if you can perceive yourself as more of a unified society versus an individual, which in a lot of Asian cultures that's the case, maybe it kind of moves that attention somewhere more in the center. I don't know what the real reason is, but it's interesting that there is a difference, right? So now, even if you just take that little bit of information into account, that's already interesting, right? That even across humans, it seems to be vary that much. Then we get into the whole, altered states, and what is it like to be a dog, or what is it like to be a chimp, right? So I would assume that a chimp is almost like the way I imagine it, which is probably not at all how it is, but maybe like a drunk human, like just in the sense of like there's not as much awareness of awareness. Like there's not as much kind of like projection. There's planning, there's memory. There's certain kinds of memories that chimps actually way better than humans. So, for example, that game with that you have to memorize a sequence of notes. Forget what it's called. You know what I'm talking about? The one.
Simon Says.
Yeah. Simon Says, exactly. So, they would win against the smartest human every single time. Their memorization of sequences is off the charts. Chimps, like, it's really interesting. But I would imagine that their ability to kind of hold complex concept in their heads is very limited. So in that sense, I'm kind of equating it to being a little kind of murky or drunk, but they're probably sharper in other ways, just like this illustrates, right? So it shows you that the structure of internal experience can vary dramatically, even just in regular things that we're familiar with. And we do get hints of what it might be like, right? Maybe, I forget who said this, but I've heard this somewhere, and I thought it was a really cool idea, that maybe the art of the future is going to have to kind of incorporate some scientific elements and be able to give us the experience of something else. Like, instead of asking what it's like to be a bat, imagine like actually having an experience that shows you how to be a bat. Like, you really experience the quality of a bat. This is kind of wild, right? And then, so this is just on this plane with the rules of the game, the way they present themselves to us, our laws of physics and our local laws of physics. But even if you go slightly down, and this is an example that I've used before on the channel, if you go to the size of an ant, just the scale of, forget about the complexity of the structure of the brain, and they operate more like a hive and all, forget about that for a second. Just what gives rise to their immediate experience in physical terms is already radically different because of their scale, and the scale is not even that majorly different. So on the scale of an ant, the surface tension of water makes you be able to do things that you can never do on our scale, right? You can hold a bubble of water over your head and just walk with it, because water on that scale can actually close in on itself because of surface tension. You can hold a bubble of water. On your scale, you can't do that because it's just too large, right? So that probably also already contributes to a radically different experience, not just in terms of kind of like the structure of the brain, but even in the possible physical experiential space. So I'm just showing you how complex this decision tree of inner experiences can be, just across us, right? And I remember in David Deutsch's book where it actually postulated that the reason that humans are so good at communication is because humans are already of a level of complexity, like a human mind, that talking from one human to another is already equivalent to communicating across species. So like if I talk to you, it's literally equivalent. The level of complexity involved is involved in speaking between different species, because we have so many different radical, vectors of experience that can be there, that we have to actually be super clear on what we're doing inside. Now you take it to a way more complex level, but still nowhere near thinking about multidimensional beings. Now we're just still talking, is ChatGPT conscious? A lot of people postulated this, right? I personally think no. But let's play the game of maybe if it is, what would that look like? I don't know how many people spend their time actually thinking, not because most people think this just because they're like, oh, it talks to me a certain way, which is, that's your experience of it. But did you ever think what its experience would be? Like, what is it? Does it feel itself as a unit? Does it feel itself kind of like this diffused attention of things? What does it think it is doing when it's interacting with you? Does it know you're an agent? The level of possibilities here is so enormous because we have no idea. Like it can be conscious, but not be aware at all that you're conscious. Just maybe the thing that it is doing on its own side is completely different than what you think it's doing. So what makes things a little less complicated for us to determine kind of like what kind of qualia other beings might have is the fact that we share consensus reality. We share some kind of what appears at least as an external physical space. So if you and I looking at the couch, and we can never know if we're looking at the same color of the couch, it's not in the cards. I can never know, and you can never know. We might be calling the same thing, but your whole life, what you call brown, I see as black, and I just call it brown, right? I see it as you're black, and I'm just calling it brown, and so we will never know. But we can both sit on the couch, so we don't really have to argue about that, right? Because we can sit on the couch. So the fact that there's some kind of a stage on which we're playing gives us some hints as to what is possible or less plausible to be an experience in that space. I know that you're not experiencing walking through the couch because I can see the representation of what you are physically, and you not doing that, right? So now you're taking it to multidimensional, and you say, okay, what kind of, do you think they are their own agents, and what would that look like from the inside? I mean, just what we said, I mean, bro, it's like the level of bunkers, springs flying out of your head is like, it's just, there's no way you can talk about this seriously, right? This is why when people say it's so weird, I'm like, yeah, it's really weird because it probably is made from components. I don't know if you noticed this. You said you've had quite a few experiences, but you said you noticed that even there's sometimes feelings and emotions in there in these hyperspaces that feel completely alien. Like those are clear emotions or feelings, but they are different. They're not the same kind of thing we're familiar with. They're like, I don't know, multidimensional emotions or something like that. Did you ever encounter something like this?
Wow. Well, it's interesting when you say that. For me, I'm more of the dream space exploration.
Okay.
And so alien, that word doesn't actually resonate, like the idea of something. I'm always reflecting back on the like almost surprised at how safe I felt, despite it being like a whole new world or something.
I see. So yeah, in the dream space, I would say, yeah, things would be a little bit more familiar.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That may be more, that's more of my personal, like my beliefs and my personal field is so much more wrapped up in that versus a Dimitri sort of, leaving all of those realms to something entirely different.
Have you ever done Dimitri at all?
No.
Okay, yeah, that's the thing that the really kind of raises your proverbial eyebrows to infinity is that it does not compute that you could have such a radically different kind of experience. It's not even that it's the content is weird, is that the thing out of which the experience is made out of, so to speak, is of a kind of a thing that you never imagined was possible. Just that alone, without nothing else added, if there's enough of a wherewithal in you to kind of like sit back and like absorb the fact that that's the case right now, because it's not like we said, the thing that makes consciousness different is that it's not the question of whether consciousness is there or whether consciousness just seems to be there is not an applicable question. That's not a legal move in that domain, because what is meant by consciousness is the seeming. It's the fact that it seems like anything and all, right? So the fact that it seems like anything is what consciousness is. So you can say that the quality of that moment of consciousness is the way it seems. It doesn't matter how it arose. It makes no difference if you're simulated on a computer or just by the laws of physics or what's happening.
It's kind of like being in a dream and then all of a sudden having something step in and say, I'm in control of the dream now, and knowing it's not you.
Hold on one second. Sorry, 1 second. Is he okay? My dog just went to the door.
Yeah, that's happened a few times, but more in like the nightmare sense, right? Where something. Like
no, not like no. So it has nothing to do with control, so I'm going to emphasize this again. Sorry, I just got very distracted by my dog literally running into the door. There's a quality to this, right? There's a certain sense that it seems to be this, right? And again, it doesn't matter if it's on a computer or in laws of physics or some other fancy way. The way it's presented to you, and I'm not just talking about the visual, I'm talking about the feeling of being you, right? When you do small things like you smoke some weed or whatever, like small departures, get drunk even, whatever. There's a certain change in the parameters of how this feels, but the way it feels is still very familiar. In that, if I ask you what changed when you were drunk, you say, oh, I was kind of like more in the moment. I didn't really have any of my concerns. There's all kinds of things you can say, but mostly it's just kind of like an amplification and an elimination of certain factors of what this already is or seems to be. When you go to these spaces, especially with the spirit molecule, nothing, almost nothing in this is like, in the way that now things are presented, nothing is familiar anymore. Nothing. There's no point of contact aside from maybe you can say there was a shape, but like the quality of that experience was so different. It's almost like the texture, the material out of which your experience is made changes, and that is something nobody expects. That's why it's not like dreams. It's not a slight departure. It's like, well, that's what Gallimore means by complete reality switch. It's just a complete departure from what you're familiar with, and it's not to a degree, but to a kind. This is why it's so difficult to communicate, because it's not just like more of something or less of something, even though you can kind of talk about it in terms of more or less, but there are components that are not more or less anything. Somebody said quantum leap. I guess you can say that, but like it's like you just bonk, like you're just in a completely different mind space that just unfamiliar to your brain at all. And what I'm saying is that the second that happens to you, Terence McKenna famously used to say, it's a slightly kind of confusing sentence, but he meant it to be a little confusing. He used to say, you could believe, like when you're on it, right? When you're on the trip, you could believe it only if it wasn't happening to you. So like if somebody else would be telling you the story about it, you would kind of be like, okay, well, yeah, I get it. But when it's happening to you, you're like, I can't believe this. Because this is like, there's no way this is real. But yet, here it is. It's happening to you. And that opens a whole new window of possibility of expression and experience kind, which puts into question basically every single thing you ever thought about the world. That's why when people come back from some of these experiences, and no matter how physicalist they were, or it at least put such an enormous and heavy question mark on everything they ever thought was possible, so that they no longer can sustain the idea that we kind of, we're almost there. We're about to figure out everything there is to figure out in physics. Bro, nowhere near figuring out anything. We don't know anything. It's just like it completely wipes clean any confidence about what you think we know as humanity. And that is not to say that we haven't figured out quite a bit, but it opens the space to like something that truly is just boo, like your whole perspective just like expands into infinite domains. Let me hold on. You feel free to comment on anything you guys want. I will listen to you, and at the same time, I'm gonna try and read some questions not to ignore the wonderful people. Thank you so much for the likes, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. If you guys have comments, feel free to unmute and speak. At the same time, I'll be listening and reading some comments. And also, let me see if there's any comments. We have Piggyback coming on.
Hello. Greetings, all.
Greetings. How are you, brother?
Good. I heard you talking about the DMT a little bit, and I wanted to say, from my experience, I did have a breakthrough, right, on DMT, and I did see like the patterns, the geometric patterns. I was waiting for some entities to greet me on my arrival, and I did not get that. I was hoping for that, but I did not see anyway. But I did see a lot of weird patterns, and it was the typical, things that you see and that I see. I think it's not Terence McKenna. I forgot. There's a DMT artist that draws a lot of famous.
Oh, Alex Gray.
Yeah, that's right. That's very accurate to what I have seen and what I've seen other people portray. So
interesting.
I would have said I had a breakthrough, at least from that thing when everybody sees the geometric patterns, but I didn't ever really feel like it was anything beyond anything I ever seen. If anything, I felt like there was some sort of entity trying to show me these things and trying to do more of like a like to get me in a state of awe. And for me, I would have to say Salvia Death Norm was an experience that made me have a disassociated, it's a disassociate, that's what they call it. And I definitely did disassociate from everything. Like I was unaware of who I was, how to speak, what my normal mindset, it was completely different. And I did view and observe reality in a completely different way. But DMT does kind of keep you in the same state of mind. For me, when I was in it, as I am now, I was just literally observing a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, okay, is that it? Like, when is the thing gonna happen? Because have you ever done salvia? Because
Yeah.
some people do salvia and they connect to like the whole universe, and then other people just become a rock, right? Nope. Some people don't even have any effect whatsoever. So that's kind of interesting.
So you just so I managed to dial in your point, and also Drain Glows UFOs. I see you. Thank you for the comment. Are you about on making my next video on your experiment and your POV of it? Oh, awesome. Yeah. I'll read the rest of your comments in a moment. There's a lot to be said about what you just said. And language is really, really important. There's a few terms that you use that I would just use them a little bit differently to prevent confusion. But before, what, how many times have you done it?
The salvia or the DMT?
DMT. What up, Elizabeth?
I only got to do it one time.
Got
And
it. So,
wasn't even, they gave it to me on a cigar. They put the
Yeah.
crystals on a cigar cherry, and then I smoked it like that. So I threw up afterwards.
got it.
And yeah, it was that good.
Doesn't sound fun. Okay, so yeah, I mean, just to make sure that I understand the point you're trying to make. The point you're trying to make is that it seems that your experience was not of the kind that I'm describing, in which everything just changes completely. Is that essentially your point?
Yeah, I did see a whole bunch of crazy stuff, but I didn't have any like profound emotion or like insight when I saw these things.
Yeah. So this is a very big topic. So yeah, there's so many different points at once here that it's kind of hard to know which one to pull. The first one maybe is that's just like you have a very limited experience. So what you've experienced is you definitely haven't experienced the molecule yet. Let's just put it that way. You experience a tiny entry point where, and also the way it was done, and it was very uncomfortable because you also threw up, and like you're not familiar with what it's capable of yet. That's the first thing to mention. The second thing is, and this might sound like a quibble with the term, but I think it's more than that. What you described does not sound like a disassociation for me. That's closer to just kind of like losing of agency, which is different. So disassociation, your agency is fully intact. It's just that you don't feel, you can kind of see things that you usually consider yours as external things. So for example, if you might see anxiety, but you don't feel anxiety. You might, this is very often, and it happens on mushrooms. Like you kind of chew something and then you're like, who's chewing? Like you kind of disassociated from the function is disassociated from the self-observation, so to speak. With K, it's very very, very common, right? What you're describing sounds like some people will call it ego death. I think that term is overly overused and also confuses a lot of people. But if we use the word ego just in terms of the identification that you're a unit, then what you've experienced, I guess you can say, is some form of ego death. Like you didn't remember you were you didn't remember you were human, that kind of stuff, right? But there's still experience, which, by the way, kind of puts a good philosophical wedge in the argument of all consciousness is just channels of content pointing to some central point, because there are absolutely experiences with a bunch of content with no central point whatsoever. There's just experience. And in meditative practices, you can actually find states in which there's not even content. There's no content at all, and yet there's experience. So experience seems to be prior to any content whatsoever. But there, I definitely digress. The other thing that I think is relevant to your point would be, if we want to compare what everything I just said to what you just described as your experience, I would say that where that sits in terms of mapping is that you kind of entered the space with a lot of your still very much attached connection or attachment to what you're familiar with, which is, so you would experience these, forms of like weird shapes or things like this, but there's still experience in terms of the kinds of observation you are used to having. When you have a little bit of experience with it and you learn how to just let go of everything and you just kind of float out there, so to speak, you start having these experiences where, and by the way, even in these experiences, there can be a situation where your agency is completely intact, and yet the kind of thing that your agency is experiencing is something that you've never seen before, and you could not have ever even conceived that it was possible, which is the thing that I'm trying to describe. So it's like it throws you in some other neighborhood in which there's a certain possibility space you can imagine. This one you could not. You couldn't imagine it. Even if you tried really hard, you could smoke all the weed in the world, you wouldn't be able to imagine it. It's just not in the cards, because your brain is just not constructed that way. It takes some ability to feel comfortable in these spaces, because very often it's very intense for people, so they don't stick around, so to speak. It usually takes either people that are really enjoy, they kind of thrive in the chaos, or people who just kind of muscle through it and they just kind of stay long enough to to see what's happening if you go deep enough and you're still paying attention. But of course, there's no question that you can have, you can smoke less and you can have just strange departures from what you're familiar with. There's definitely needs to be not only a certain amount smoked, but also a certain level of readiness in you to be able to go to these places. So there's a lot of components here. And the other thing I would say, for the insight stuff, which is a whole separate point, because I think there's a lot of misinformation based on people who have very limited experience with the molecule, and then they talk a lot about it. So it painted this picture that I think is just wrong. I think it's incorrect. I would say that most people who are experiencing the molecule long enough understand that, well, even you don't have to do it that long, but like, it's just kind of obvious. The signature quality of the spirit molecule is not insight. It's not heavenly realms usually. It's super hyper futuristic, mechanical, robotic. Like, it feels very robot. Like, it doesn't feel divine. It feels like like it's very, and people come back and they say, I'm confused. Well, I thought I'm just gonna have like these like deep insights. It's like, I don't know who told you this, but like, that's not usually what's happening. Like, you're just confused because it's super weird. And I think that when people do have insights, I think it's actually secondary. I don't think it's coming from the space. I think people think it does because it helps their psychology to survive, but I don't think anybody told them anything. I think that what happened was the aperture of whatever is possible by the mind to experience opened, and this is how these things flow in. So because of this openness, whatever was right at the edges of your ability to understand spilled in, and that was your insight. But that was all you. Like, that was not, it didn't come from the space. So when people talk about insight, I would say that's actually to me, that's like a misinformation. Like, I don't think it's usually in the cards in that space. Yeah, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Okay, so that kind of leads me to the next thing I was thinking about when it comes to like these things where, okay, so I think there is like natural and like some artificial type of things going on here. Like, throughout history, there can be like a natural thing that happens, and then there will be some other outside force that tries to replicate that thing. So I was kind of coming from the perspective that I think there are like plant medicines that can connect us to different information, different states of consciousness, and maybe like different spirits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, okay, so it's very interesting that, like you just mentioned, this one DMT gives people specific visions of like technological events type of things, visions. I was like, okay, so is it possible that this could be a thing that was manufactured or made by aliens in order to implant certain ideas into the populace? Is that possible?
What specifically? What specifically made?
Well, because with salvia, I've gotten some insight from salvia, and
Okay.
The insight that has come to me was everything is connected, everything is conscious. The smallest thing, the smallest form of energy that makes it matter is directly connected to consciousness, to awareness. That's what I got out of salvia, and I saw the connection. I experienced the connection to everything.
But the question was, is this something you discerned, or do you think it was something that was expressed to you?
That was something I experienced.
Experience.
Something I saw and I experienced.
Right. So the understanding was on your side. It's not like somebody was sitting there and telling you it's all connected, or was it?
No one said that, but the plant did put my brain in a certain state of mind.
Yeah.
I was in a certain chemical state of mind. I think that affects.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. So like most insights, they're actually ours. And because of the readiness of the mind in this new state to perceive information in a slightly different way. That's what I would say is happening most of the time. Even though you absolutely can have cases in which they talk to you directly. But even then, I would say that most of the time, most of the realization is happening through you, not through them telling you something. I've had experiences in which they kind of hand you an object of understanding, for lack of a better term. They kind of hand you a thing, and the reason I'm saying it is because in these cases, which are actually rare, when they do that, it's distinctly not yours. Like it's almost like you can tell that it's not coming from you the same way you can tell that somebody else is talking to you versus you talking to yourself in your head. So like when you're talking to yourself in your head and somebody talks to you in the room, you know the difference, right? Aside from schizophrenics, but like you know the difference. So in the same way, even though it's all in the mind space, so to speak, when they hand you an object of understanding, you know it was spoken to you, so to speak. You know it was not your idea. But most of the time, I would say the way they communicate is what I call a very rapid hot-cold game with your conjectures. It's almost like 21 questions with your conjectures, just very, very fast. So like you start by having a conjecture, you like have a question that you kind of innately would ask in this situation. Like you have some kind of something happening, and then your mind goes, wait, you're telling me that? And before you even finish formulating the question in full, they already know what you want to say. So they just answer you. They just go, yes. They're going to nudge you towards yes or no, and it's very quick. And then you ask the next question in your head, and it's very, very fast, and it go like, so it almost like they weave themselves into your thought process and gently nudge you towards the right answers when you ask the right questions. So by postulating the right questions, you are showing to them that you're ready to understand. If you didn't ask the right question, it's clear to them you're not the kind of being that can yet understand, because you're not asking those questions. If you're asking, the wrong question in a situation, you're showing that you do not understand the situation. And the more you understand the situation, your questions start reflecting the proper information seeking in that space. And that's how they kind of prevent a lot of trauma, so to speak, but just noticing what you're actually asking about. And this is why, like I said before, talking about okay. So actually, unfortunately, I have to abruptly end this live. I apologize. One thing I do want to, I will be back tomorrow, and we can continue with this. One thing I do want to mention, that if you guys are still interested in the retreat, anybody is interested, make sure you email me to Dengo Prox about it, and we'll talk about it. It's going to be on February 28th. dengoprox@gmail.com. I just put it on YouTube on Dengo Thoughts. Feel free to email me about the retreat on February 28th, and we'll talk about it. If you want to check out all my other social media, it's Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram. It's Goller Danny on X, LaserX83 on Twitch, and Dengo Thoughts on YouTube. You can also check out my new show, 0 to 1 with Danny Goller, on Spotify. And come join the membership program on YouTube. It gives you early access to all my content. It gives you access to my weekly lives on Sundays for members only, which are a lot of fun. We dive much deeper into all kinds of topics. And if you sign for the second tier upwards, sign in for the second tier of the membership program, make sure you email me to the email listed there, which is not this one. It's lasersimulationx@gmail.com. And I will send you an invite for a monthly Zoom call. I apologize for the very abrupt ending, but I actually forgot that I had a phone call and I have to jump on that one. I hope you guys understand. I want to thank our incredible moderator, Guru. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Come join our Discord community. You can find the links to it on YouTube and on Discord, on TikTok, or just search for Code of Reality or COR. And thank you so much, you, the audience, for coming and sharing the space, asking questions. Chris, thank you so much. Chris just gifted 5 people a membership. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. And come back tomorrow. We'll continue this conversation. I do apologize for the very abrupt ending of this live, but I completely forgot, and that's on me. But thank you so much for all the participants. If you're old, if you're a new listener, I really, really appreciate you. And I'll see you tomorrow in the live tomorrow. Peace and love, everybody. Have a good night. Ciao.